right, what's going on? What's going on? We got the brother Eric Muhammad in the building again. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us this evening. Today we're going to talk about supreme wisdom. Now, for those, hold on, let's turn this on. For those who don't know, there's a difference between supreme wisdom and 120 lessons. There's a slight difference. So, with that said, I have the supreme wisdom lessons right here in my hand, just in case, because I want to avoid all confusion. One thing I know about coming up in the 5% Nation, right? In the 5% Nation, people have different sets of lessons. And you'll quote a degree, and then it's like, that's not what my lessons say, God. And then it'll be a whole thing on just a missed word or whatever, right? So to avoid any of that, I'm going to read straight from Supreme Wisdom so we could just get straight to it, all right? Let's talk about it. Thank you for coming out this evening. I really appreciate you, Brother Eric Muhammad. How you doing?
Likewise, doing fine. Praise be to Allah for his messenger.
Indeed, indeed. So now we're going into student enrollment. What I noticed, first off, I would like to say this. You said that we're not supposed to have these books, right? So I just want to put that out there for anyone who wants to know. We're not supposed to have these books. Can you explain why we're not supposed to have these books?
They are for registered Muslims only, and it literally says that in one of them. It says for registered Muslims only. Now, I realize that for those who, for whatever reason, choose not to register themselves as members of the Nation of Islam under the leadership of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that it may sound like we're trying to 10% or something, like we're trying to keep something from the people that rightfully belongs to the people. That's not the case. This, you don't allow someone to drive who is not skilled enough to be operating an automobile. You don't allow someone to practice medicine or dentistry who is not educated enough or skilled enough, trained well enough in order to practice dentistry or medicine. When it says for registered Muslims only, it says that because there is a degree of qualification that comes through proper training and orientation that makes it necessary for you to keep those lessons out of the hands of those individuals who have not undergone that training, who have not gone under that proper preparation. You don't want people taking something as valuable and something as high-powered as the supreme wisdom and just willy-nilly running around misusing and abusing it.
Right.
Can I give you an example?
Yes, sir.
All right. A lot of young brothers, and I was a young brother at one time too, take that for what it's worth. Right. A lot of young brothers, we use the supreme wisdom to get women. We start running it down the way we run it down. It's a powerful aphrodisiac. The next thing you know, we don't only have 9 planets, we got about 90 planets.
Right.
Because we done blinded our sisters with science, and we running through the women because they never heard nobody talk like we talk. And they never heard nobody flow like we flow. Mm-hmm. So, when you got this supreme wisdom and you can add on and do all the things that we do with it, it's like being a rapper or a rhythm and blues singer. It'll get you some women now. So that's without the proper FOI training and preparation, then you end up, running through women with this women. And some of us, take it for what it's worth, because I used to be a young brother too now. Some of us, even with the proper training, do the same thing. Because this supreme wisdom makes us just a tad bit more magnetic than we would be if we was 85ers. Right. And some of us are not strong enough to handle that magnetism properly. So when we start magnetizing sisters, we start magnetizing sisters. And that's not good. That's just one example.
Right. I'm going to move on from that one.
Thank you very much.
So student enrollment, right? I noticed on this in this here, it says rules of Islam.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that is not in my 120, right? Of course, right? Now, rules of Islam, why does it state rules of Islam in that there?
Because what the student enrollment actually represents in its questions and more so in its answers, it represents the rules by which you are to study and learn Islam. If you give a black man a Holy Quran and you don't give him the student enrollment, he ends up growing a beard and wearing a kufi and a long garment of some sort and some flip-flops with some dingy socks on. And he ends up walking around looking crazy as hell, like he's just got off a camel in the desert of Arabia somewhere. And he becomes a puppet, a tool, a tom, and a fool for the light, bright, and damn near white Muslim that we call Arab. He does not become a proud, all-wise, and civilized black man who stands on his own square. But what he becomes is an Arab or Persian or Turk worshiping dumbbell, trying to be something that he is not and should not be. So the student enrollment, that's the rules. And you need those rules. And by rules, meaning the standard, the criterion by which you are to study Islam. So before you so-called take shahada, before you read your Holy Quran, before you go into all of this spook worship in Arabism, let's start with who is the original man. Because you need that orientation so that you won't go crazy with this thing called Islam and start wanting to be an Arab. You used to want to be a cracker when you was a Christian. Now you want to be an Arab that you're going to accept Islam. Why don't you be yourself? Because you're going to all praises due to Allah for the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. So we begin teaching you Islam with the knowledge of self. Knowledge of self.
Right. Indeed. Now, I want to go into the first question. I'm not gonna quote it from 120. Like I said, just to reiterate for those who are 5%ers watching, I'm gonna quote it straight from Supreme Wisdom as it is here. So who is the original man? So answer, the original man is the Asiatic black man, right? So when we go into the original man is the Asiatic black man, can we go into that piece?
Absolutely. Now, let's try to give some context to that answer. All right. When it says the original man is the Asiatic black man, we need to keep in mind that Master Farad Muhammad brought this knowledge to us. He began teaching us in 1930. And in 1931, he meets the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and then takes him off to the side and teaches him what he didn't teach others. In other words, he gave him a much more concentrated, much more voluminous teaching than he did to anybody else. Okay. Now, the reason I'm mentioning that is this. For 3 years and 4 months, he spent night and day with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because he was preparing the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad to take his place, meaning take Master Farad Muhammad's place among us as our educator. I'm going to use the term educator for the 5%ers that are listening. Mm-hmm. Master Farad Muhammad was our educator, but he knew he wasn't going to spend but a certain amount of time among us. So he needed to prepare one among us to be our educator in his place. All right. So he prepared the messenger by teaching him for 3 years and 4 months, night and day. And just before it was time for him to leave, and it was time for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad to take over, he quizzed, he tested, he examined the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And that's what the supreme wisdom is. It's a verbal examination that Master Farad Muhammad gave to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad based on those 3 and nearly 1/2 years of teaching. He asked him various questions. The messenger gave the answers based on what Master Farad Muhammad had been teaching him for 3 years and 4 months. My point is this: there is a lot of supreme wisdom that is not in the lessons. Just like the wisdom build degree of the 1 to 40. He also had other rules and laws that are not mentioned in this lesson.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Same thing. There is much supreme wisdom that is not mentioned in the supreme wisdom lessons. You find that in books. Message to the Black Man, Our Savior Has Arrived, Fall of America, How to Eat to Live, Book 1, How to Eat to Live, Book 2, Supreme Wisdom, Book 1, Supreme Wisdom, Book 2, and in a volume of audio and video lectures given by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, not to mention what he dropped at the table during times when he and his laborers would be eating dinner. So there were laborers' meetings where he dropped jewels. There were dinners where he dropped jewels. So there's a lot of wisdom that's not contained in the supreme wisdom lessons. And it is that, in the 5% nation, it's called plus degrees. Mm-hmm. Right? Well, that's what Message to the Black Man, his audio lectures, his videos, his books, all of that. Those are quote unquote plus degrees. Those are the degrees that take you deeper into what the lessons say. So who is the original man? That's Master Farad Muhammad asking him. Mm-hmm. The messenger says the Asiatic Black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe. That's the messenger answering him based on what he had been taught. And my last point is, when we say Asiatic, we're not talking about the continent that the white man calls Asia. We're talking about the whole planet. That's part of a quote unquote plus degree. We don't call it that, but what I'm saying is that's part of the supreme wisdom that you don't see in the lesson. The whole earth is called Asia by the original man, the whole earth. So when we say Asiatic, we're talking about the black man, the whole earth. No matter where the black man is, he's Asiatic because the whole planet is Asia.
Okay. Makes sense. Okay. So the maker, the owner.
Oh, yeah. The black man is God. Mm-hmm. Everything created or made The black man created and or made it. Matter of fact, the black man is self-created. There is no God who created us. We are the gods who created self. And so, maker, owner, cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe, that's the black man.
Right.
We made it.
Now, can you expound on that? Because let's say if I'm not well studied in this, and I may quote this degree, but I'm not too well studied or rooted in this question, and right here, this question and answer right here itself. This, to me, this is one of the most important questions and answers in Supreme Wisdom or 120. Now, you say the black man created himself.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And created all that is in existence. Now, let's say if I'm 85 watching this, they're going to say, how is that possible? How would you explain that to an 85?
In a way that an 85 probably wouldn't like.
Okay.
Which is, how is that not possible? Like, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I will anyway. A lot of times you'll be teaching something and somebody will take it like, well, who do you think you are? I'm the brother who will say, who do you think I'm not?
Mm.
You're not going to put me on the defensive. I'm going to keep you on the defensive. You don't question who I think I am. I question who you think I'm not. Now, I'm only using that as an example now. When you ask the question, as an 85, and not you, of course, I'm just saying, when you ask the question as an 85, but how is that possible? The reason you're asking that question is because you want to start the dialogue from the position of it's taken for granted that that's not possible. What I want to do is educate you, to help you to understand that you starting from the wrong perspective. You got the wrong idea in your head. How is it not possible? Try to look at it from that perspective. Mm-hmm. Stop thinking that it is a ridiculous concept that the black man is not the author of everything in creation. What is ridiculous is for you to think he's not. That's ridiculous. But no one has ever approached you like that before. No one has ever made you stop and think and hold on, wait a minute. What's so non-ridiculous about the black man not being the author of creation?
Can I answer that? Now, yes, I'm gonna say this. I'm speaking from now, of course, I'm not an 85, right? Obviously, right? So now my thing is, let's say I'm an 85. Yeah, well, how is the black man God when right now I'm looking at, I went down the block. I just saw this guy right here. He's homeless. He's shooting somebody. He's disrespecting a black woman. He's doing this and he's doing that. Criminal activity, et cetera, et cetera. So how is the black man God when the black man doesn't exhibit godly behavior?
Well, one of the godly behaviors of the black man is power. The word God itself means one who is a possessor of power. All right. Mm-hmm. Now, the reason that black man is out there not exhibiting God-like power is because the black man who does exhibit God-like power grafted a devil from the black man and gave that black man power to destroy the black man. Well, all but destroy him. He was given power by the black man to rule over the black man and to attempt to destroy the black man to whatever degree that he could, for lack of a better term. So put it this way. The God who made the white man, you can say created, but as long as you understand what created means, the God who quote unquote created the black man, Yakub, was a black man. Mm-hmm. And the power that was given to the white man to reduce the black man that you saw on the block, not exhibiting godlike power was given to that white man by this black man. So it is our power that was given to the white man to reduce us to the condition that he has reduced us to. That was our power. Some of our power has been used destructively. It hasn't all been used constructively. When you see the black man doing what you just mentioned, that is the power of the black God being used in a destructive manner.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Okay. Good answer. Good answer. Love it. The cream of the planet Earth.
If you look at milk, now a lot of us don't know too much about milk because we city slickers. As the white man turns it, we city slickers. I don't know nothing about the country. But when you know milk, you have milk and then you have the part of the milk that's the cream. You can shake the milk up and you can shake the cream to the bottom of the milk.
But it always rises to the top.
It always rises to the top. Now, when I was a young fella, we had a milkman. You know, I'm not exactly a teenager anymore. When I was growing up, we had a milkman, and he brought bottles of milk. And in those days, the milk had cream in it. It literally had cream in it. Us young folk today, if we ain't in the country, we don't know nothing about no cream. Mm-hmm. We never seen cream in milk before.
Not me either.
Cream, the term the cream always rises to the top comes from the time when we were familiar enough with real milk that it still had cream in it. Mm. And that's the black man. We are the best part of creation. We are the most wise and the most powerful beings in creation. And just like it takes the milk no longer being in an agitated state. If you agitate the milk, you can push the cream down. But if you let the milk be at peace, the cream will rise to the top of the milk, showing that it is the best part of the milk. And when we as black people have peace again, Islam, the dominant idea is the making of peace. When we are allowed enough peace, the black man rises right to the top of everything.
Got you. All right. And we already, so now, God of the universe, right? So yes, I'm not going to say who it was, but someone said, we are the small, he said, I forgot what he said. He said, there's a big G and we are the small G, right? However, in this degree, it says God of the universe, the entire universe.
Right.
So how do you see that part of that degree?
Again, the black man is God. Every time you look in the face of a black man, you are looking at God. You can talk that big G, little G stuff all you want to. I don't care what size you make your G's. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, that teaching that whenever you look in the face of a black man, you are looking at God is what it is. However, and this ain't no punchline, this ain't no backpedaling. However, in everything that we, God, have created, you have the law of some excelling others. Some trees are skinny and
I know where you're going.
You have other trees that are huge and very, very thick. In everything, there is the excel or excelling of some over others, right?
Yes, sir.
Some brothers in the gym pushing up 500. Some brothers in the gym barely pushing up 100. Everybody is not as strong as everybody. Everybody ain't as cut as everybody. There's always some who excel others. Even though no matter what face of what black man you look in, you are looking at God. You see the same law of creation in human beings. You see some who excel others. There is one of us at all times, just like in all other creation. There is always one of us who excels the rest of us in knowledge, in wisdom, in understanding, in force, and in power. The one who excels us all is Master Wallace Farad Muhammad. None of us are as knowledgeable as he is. None of us are as wise as he is. None of us understand as much as he understands. None of us are as powerful as he is. It's just what it is. We're not. But we're all as much God as he is. We're just not as wise of God, not as knowledgeable of God, not as understanding of God, not as powerful of God. But every one of us is as much a God as he is.
Gotcha. Now, the original man, the second degree, the original man, the colored man is the Caucasian white man. My degree does not say it like this. This is why I had to make sure I brought this out. The colored man is the Caucasian white man, or Yaku grafted devil, the skunk of the planet Earth. And I think we went over this before. But who is the colored man? The colored man is the Caucasian white man, or Yaku grafted devil, the skunk of the planet Earth. Can you explain that for those who didn't catch that on episodes like a while back?
Yes. At the time in the 1930s that this wisdom was being taught, we considered ourselves to be colored people. That's one of the nicknames that the white man gave us, colored. And that's why you have NAACP, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People.
Right.
So when we are being re-educated and retrained, we got to put things in proper perspective. So Master Farad Muhammad asked his messenger, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who is the colored man? In other words, we're not colored. We've been called colored by a man who actually fits more the meaning of what colored is. We're the original. Colored means the absence of original. If you're a woman, you have nails, and I'm sure they look better than mine. You have nails, and they're this color. It's just the natural color, right? They're not really colored at all. They're in their original state. You were born with them looking like this. Then you take polish and you color them, meaning you alter them from their original state. When you have a vehicle, nobody manufactures a maroon colored vehicle, a red colored vehicle. You don't get metals in those colors. So when you first manufacture the vehicle, it's in its original state. Then you color it. You change the appearance of it. So you're coloring it. Well, who is the colored man? You don't call us black and don't say we're black because we're colored. We came like this. The sun didn't color us black by shining on us. We are black because we're black, because we're original. So who is the colored man? It's the man that's not black. Now, because yes, sir, the natural hue of a human being, it is not natural for a human being to be anything but black. Not brown, not red, not yellow, not white. The only hue that is natural for any human being is black. In order to get anything other than black, you have to start coloring, meaning altering.
Right. Okay. Now, what I like to do is make sure that I don't like to use the word separating, but for lack of a better term, I like to separate the schools of thought and houses, and when I'm building with different schools of thought, right? However, it just came to mind, right? This is in a Quran questions for Moorish Americans, the 101s, right? This is what this says. It says, name some of the marks that were put on the Moors of Northwest by the European nations in 1774. Negro, black, colored, and Ethiopian. And then it goes down here to say, on 88, what does the word colored mean? Colored means anything that has been painted, tainted, varnished, or dyed. And then it says, can a man be a Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian? No. So I just wanted, and that's the 90th question and answer in the 101s. I just wanted to make sure I say that and put that on record. Peace.
Peace. That's much peace. It's another example. You hear so much from brothers claiming to be Moors, and it be their own crap. I want it straight from Noble Drew Ali, because when I get it straight from Noble Drew Ali, it ain't nothing I got a problem with.
Right.
It meshes.
Right. It really does.
It really does.
This is what I'm trying to say, people. It's all has similarities, a lot of it. And now we went through colored. Now the Yakub's grafted devil. Okay, we know that's like self-explanatory. Now, the way you broke down the skunk of the planet one time, I would like for you to reiterate that.
Yes. A skunk, its primary weapon is its funk. It sprays you with its waste, for lack of a better term. And that waste material, skunk PISS, it sprays you with it. And after it sprays you with it, you are marked by the skunk. And no matter how much you try to wash it away, it takes a long time to stop smelling like the skunk once you are skunk. In other words, the evil effect of what the skunk does to you lasts way longer than your contact with the skunk. The skunk will be gone and you still stink. And right. You have literally applied soap and water. You have literally applied the solution to getting rid of the funk. And long after the skunk is gone, long after you have washed yourself up, you still smell like the skunk. And this is why some of us, after having supreme wisdom, we still smoking, still drinking, still fornicating, still committing adultery, still lying, still cheating. We still slinging drugs, still using drugs. We doing all kinds of filth that we got from the devil, because even though the ignorance and lack of knowledge of self is gone, the evil effect of that skunk is still all over us.
That's a fact. Indeed. Before we go into the next question, I just want to put this up there. All right, we're going on to the next question. The next question and answer. The population of the original nation in the wilderness of North America is 17 million, with the 2 million Indians makes it 19 million. All over the planet Earth, 4,400,000,000. Now, can you explain original nation.
Yes. The original nation is the original people. Black is not a race. You have a brown race. You have a red race. You have a yellow race. You have a white race. You absolutely do not have a black race. A race is something that has a beginning and an end. The black man has no beginning nor ending. I didn't want to jump down to number 9 like that, but it is what it is. We are the black nation. Now, there are members of our nation. The brown race is a member of the black nation. The red race, the yellow race are members of the black nation. The white race is not a member of the black nation. And so the original nation refers to the 4 quote unquote colors: black, brown, red, and yellow. That's the original nation. And so when it asks, what is the population of the original nation in the wilderness of North America, that's why the 2 million Indians, red race, are added to the 17 million members black nation, making it 19 million.
Indeed, indeed. Now, the wilderness.
The wilderness of North America, we are taught by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad that this part of the earth, North America, is a wilderness of sin and immorality.
See this? You see how I do with the questions, y'all? Come on now, give it to me, man. So the wilds, can you explain that? Say that again. Repeat that.
If you look at the word wilderness, the root word of wilderness is what? Wild. And that's exactly what this area of the world is. It's wild. It's untamed. It is a wild and untamed area, geographical area of sin and immorality. All of the things that you can't do in the Holy Land, you can do here. And if you look even at European societies, if you, like, I have never traveled to Europe, but those who have tell me, you go ride the subways over there, they're not filthy and graffiti filled and crazy looking like the ones over here. Like you go over to Europe where the white man is from, and it's a more civilized, more advanced area. You go to some countries over there, weed is legal. You know, you go get some weed just like you go get some milk. Brothels. You got areas where you got whorehouses, brothels. But yet they have all of this filth going on, but it's managed so much more well than it's managed. Now, listen, don't anybody say, oh, wow, I want to live in Europe. No, I'm not caping for them. I'm simply saying that America is much more wild and untamed than the filthy Europe that they come from, because the filthy Europeans are more civil. They're more tamed insofar as their filth is concerned. Here, the things that are legal there are illegal here, and yet it's so much more out of control here. This is a wilderness. I mean, it's ridiculous, because if you look at history, long story short, it is the worst, the most savage, the most uncivilized, the dregs of Europe. The worst of what Europe had to offer are the ones who established this over here. So these people don't know how to be the devils that they are without their whole ASSS showing. Whereas the ones over there know how to be devils with some finesse.
Got you. Check. Now, so we spoke about the 2 million Indians all over the planet, 400 million. Yeah, let's talk about. I mean, we could say we could complete it with that, with that part of that degree. 4,400,000,000 all over the planet Earth, original people. So we would be the largest population on the planet.
Which tells us what? That we're the original population of the planet. If we outnumber the white man 11-1, that goes to prove we've been here longer. We've been procreating much longer than the white man has been procreating. That's why we have procreated so many more than the white man has procreated. So that lets you know the white man is the newest man on the planet because he's the smallest population on the planet.
Gotcha. All right. The population of colored people in the wilderness of North America is 103 million, right? So the population of colored people, 103 million, that's self-explanatory. We already went over that. Now, the square mileage of the planet Earth is 196,940,000 square miles. That piece right there, when we talk about that, how do you see that degree?
Another one of the aspects of supreme wisdom that is lightly touched upon in the lessons, but not expanded upon, is what you call the Holy Quran or Bible. We are taught that the original black man made the Holy Quran, made the Bible. All right. Now, in the Bible in particular, if I remember correctly, it talks about the coming of a particular and specific God. Now, we're all God, but the gods who write the history of the black man, we don't all write it, do we? No, we don't. There's only 23 gods of the billions of gods who write the history of the billions of gods. It's done every 25,000 years. 12 of those gods, there's 24 altogether. 23 do the writing, one is the judge. That one who is the judge belongs to the 12 who are major scientists. And those 12 who are the major scientists, as opposed to the 12 who are the minor scientists, the knowledge for 66 trillion years of who actually is the supreme God over all, it was kept secret among that 12 until Master Farad Muhammad revealed it. Now, I'm going into that to say this. The history that is written is prophecy. It's prophecy because it's a history of what is going to happen. It's not a history of what has already happened. It's knowing what's going to happen, writing it down as if it was history because you know it's going to happen. Well, one of those prophecies in the Bible mentions a particular God coming who's going to measure the earth. And that God, we say, is Master Farad Muhammad, and he gives us those measurements. Now, I know there's a fool who thinks, who believes that Master Farad Muhammad went to the Congressional Library and got a 1928 World Almanac and read figures and lied and said that figures he got from the white man's World Almanac in 1928 are where he got his actual facts from. The problem with that ridiculous theory is there's 20 actual facts. You point out about 8 to 10 of them, and you say this is where what about the other ones? Where did he get that from? Quit playing. There is so much that Master Farad Muhammad taught that you can't find any precedent for. And if you can't find a precedent for those things, what makes you think that something you found from some ancient Greeks or some modern Europeans is the precedent for that? So it's the same thing. You can prove that Master Farad Muhammad is God with nothing but how to eat to live. Nothing but how to eat to live. So you can say, well, he got his teachings from Darby. He got his teachings from Noble Drew Ali. Okay, show me who taught how to eat to live. You can't show me nobody that taught how to eat to live. Nobody. Nobody taught how to eat to live. There is no precedent for it. Now, since you can't find a precedent for that, why are you trying to find a precedent in Noble Drew Ali or Marcus Garvey? If he didn't get that from them, then he didn't get nothing from them. Cut it out. Once you prove that he taught anything that you can't find a precedent for, you now have a strong foot to stand on in saying there's no precedent for anything that he taught. You have no reason to believe he took from somebody this if he didn't get from anybody that. So bottom line, those actual facts are measurements that Master Farad Muhammad took in fulfillment of what the scripture says he would do when he comes.
Mm-hmm. Now, before I go into my next question, we got a question from the chat. So my brother Ben, what's up, brother Ben? Who's from the Moorish movement? He says, do the teachings say anything about the Anunnaki?
No. Sometimes I just give a simple answer. No.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, the Anunnaki, no, I don't like, I'm trying to like dig into my thoughts to see where there might be some kind of something similar to it, but I can't even find it in my mind. I don't see it. Nope. Okay, next one. Peace, Leo the Lion. Black people on the left of Adam, Eve, straight. Okay, they're going somewhere else with that one. All right. So now, what is the purpose? What is the purpose of? I noticed, like in this degree, in other degrees, it's like a lot of measurements and math. Exactly. So, to me, the purpose of this is to get us to thinking about mathematics, so that we can build a home for ourselves.
Go ahead. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And do for self.
The original man is the God and owner of the earth and knows every square inch of it.
Indeed. So now to go into the useful land is used every day by the useful land. I get a little mixed up because the degree, the 120 in my head, and then I see right. The useful land that is used every day by the total population of the planet Earth is 29 million square miles, and the original man uses 23 million square miles in comparison to the colored man who uses 6 million square miles. You're welcome, Ben. So that basically explains how much useful land we use and how much of the planet we actually take up. Now, what would you say would be the purpose of that, knowing that fact?
That's one I don't want to speculate on, but let me say this. Mm-hmm. The question says what is the area of useful land that is used every day by the total population of the planet Earth? Mm-hmm. It doesn't say how much useful land is there. Mm-hmm. It says how much of it is used.
Right.
Right?
Right.
When I first learned student enrollment, I'm thinking there's only 29 million square miles of useful land. That's not what the lesson says. The original man uses 23 million square miles. The colored man uses 6 million square miles. It doesn't mean that's the only square mileage of useful land there is.
Right.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So the only thing I can see, and I don't even want to say this, but I will anyway. The only thing I see is, like you said, it's basically grounding us in the mathematics of reality. You got 4,400,000,000 people, and yet they are being fed with only 23 million square miles of land. Mm-hmm. That's mathematics of reality. You got 400 million all over the planet Earth of colored people, and they are able to not only sustain themselves, but they have extra left over with only 6 million square miles of useful land. So it's getting you into the thought process of how much land is needed to sustain how many people. So if we are 17 million with 2 million Indians making 19 million, how much useful land do we need under our control in order to sustain ourselves? Getting you to think like that.
Right.
That's all I can see in it.
Okay. Now, I want to just go straight into the answer.
Yes,
This degree says the said nation of Islam has no birth record. It has no birth record. It has no beginning nor ending. Okay, when it comes to that degree. Now, how is it worded on here? It says, what is the record of the said? What is the birth record of the said nation of Islam?
Yes. It doesn't say what is the birth record of the nation of Islam. It says what is the birth record of the said nation of Islam. Mm-hmm. The nation of Islam is the black man. The said nation of Islam is a movement that was established in America in 1930 by Master Farad Muhammad. Due to the fact that there is a world, yes, sir.
Movement.
Yes, a movement, exactly. We were the nation of Islam before Master Farad Muhammad came. But we were deaf, dumb, blind, and dead. And when you're dead, you ain't moving. Mm-hmm. Once you begin to give us life, now there's movement. All right. Now, but going back to it, the nation of Islam is the black man, period. And when I say the black man, of course, the black woman. Mm-hmm. But the nation of Islam is the black man, period. The whole 4,400,000,000 of us. But the said nation of Islam, meaning what comes to your mind when you hear the words nation of Islam. When you say nation of Islam, people don't think about 4,400,000,000 original people all over the earth. They think about some Negroes in some suits with some bow ties trying to sell them some bean pies. That's what they think. So, and they think that we are some new brand of Muslims. Like, you know, they separate us from the Muslims of the East. And we should be separated, but not in the way that they do. Mm-hmm. They separate us in the sense that that Islam is not the same Islam. I'm getting tied up in my words. Put it this way. They look at them as Muslims and us as something other than Muslims.
And they tend to take jabs at us.
Exactly. And what they don't understand is what they think is Jewish is Islam. What they think is Christian is Islam. What Abraham taught before Jewish, before Christian, was Islam.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, just like the grass that is on your lawn today is not the same grass that was on your lawn last year. Allah produces the first creation, then he reproduces it. Islam is not stagnant. Islam is ever evolving. Abraham taught Islam. Moses taught Islam. Jesus taught Islam. Prophet Muhammad taught Islam. Master Farad Muhammad taught Islam. It's been evolving ever since. And so the nation of Islam is Islam, just like the old world of Islam is Islam. Just because it has evolved doesn't mean it's not Islam anymore. You can't have the same Islam forever. It's just not the way it works.
Right.
It wouldn't be worth having if you could.
Right.
So Islam is ever growing, ever evolving, ever perfecting. So the said nation of Islam is that group of Muslims with them bow ties and them bean pies and them newspapers. And so you're asked, what is the birth record of it? Because in your mind, this movement, the birth record of it is 1930.
Mm-hmm.
What we're trying to say to you is, yes, we are members of a movement that was established in 1930. But this movement is part of a religion, part of a culture, part of a way of life that has existed forever and will exist forever.
Check.
But this movement represents where this Islam that has no beginning and has no end, it's where that Islam is right now.
Gotcha.
It's a snapshot of where Islam is right now at this particular time.
Check. Okay. Now, it's the 10th degree. It says, what is the birth record of said others than Islam? Said others than Islam, and then we're talking about Buddhism, 35,000 years, and Christianity 551 years. So now, can you explain that a little bit?
Yes. Said others than Islam. Not what is the birth record of others. What is the birth record of said others?
Mm-hmm.
Buddhism is 35,000 years old. The messenger teaches us that Master Farad Muhammad told him, he said, brother, we have a saying among us. You see the Hindu and the Christian walking down the street, kill the Hindu first because they're more poison than the Christian. Elsewhere, the messenger said the Hindu is an old enemy. Old enemy, 35,000 years. Well, wait a minute. Said others. Where do you get Hinduism? Why are you talking about Hindus when it says Buddhism is 35,000 years old?
Because that's where it comes from.
Because that's where it comes from. We cutting through all the chase. You see that Hindu?
Mm-hmm.
That Hindu is the result of 35,000 years of rebellion against Islam. End of story. So when you look at the basic structure, the basic belief system of Hindus, it's 35,000 years old. That started 35,000 years ago. The shape that it has taken over the 35,000 years may not be the exact shape that, not may not, but is not the exact shape that it was in when it began. But it is that 35,000-year-old enemy of Islam. And that's why he said that Master Farad Muhammad told him, we consider, if we convert one Hindu a year, we consider that to be, a good thing.
If I'm not mistaken, I think, just another school of thought. I think Z York says something about the Hindu at some point in his doctrine. I could be wrong. That's tomorrow. I'm going to ask that question. Well, actually, I'm not going to. We're going to have Nuwabians on tomorrow, just to let y'all know. Now, 551 years. It says, drop why. Hold on. Let me put this up there, this comment. Drop why it's 551 years old and how others try to use that to say why Messenger Elijah Muhammad was wrong.
Well, that's Minister Kevin. That's the brother that trained me in the ministry. And I was taught why by the man that trained him in the ministry, Minister David Bacha. Now, there's controversy about this. There's a website whose name I don't want to mention that says that the answer to that is that Christianity is 551 years old because it was 551 years ago that Protestant Christianity came into existence. But before that, it was Catholicism. The reason I don't accept that is because, first of all, Christianity is Catholicism. Without the Catholic Church, there is no church. Point blank, plain and simple. How do you come along as Johnny Lately and claim your Christianity, but what you come from isn't Christianity? That's ridiculous. How in the world is the Catholic Church not Christianity? And so some would say that Christianity is 2,000 years old because that's when Jesus, began teaching. Well, Jesus's teaching was not Christianity. It was freedom, justice, and equality. Jesus taught Islam. We ain't asking you how old Islam is. We already answered that. We trying to tell you how old Christianity is. And since Christianity did not begin with Jesus, it's not as old as Jesus. Christianity is something that happened long after Jesus. All right. Now, for the first 300 years, there were no Catholics. So Catholicism is only 1,700 years old. Give or take a few years. All right. Now, you have a Protestant rebellion against Catholicism in the Middle Ages, or late Middle Ages. And so that's why I don't go for it was when Protestantism began that you age Christianity. No, Minister Bacha taught me that the reason it says Christianity is 551 years old is because that represents the time from Jesus to Muhammad of Arabia. And the reason you start it from then and end it at then is because once Muhammad began to teach Islam, Christianity stopped functioning independently. Now I'm trying to put it in words, but you have to understand it was over 20 years ago that he told me this. But the bottom line is the 551 years would represent what white folks did with the Islam that Jesus taught until it was stopped by what Muhammad taught, meaning what the white man was teaching in the name of Jesus until Prophet Muhammad came along was independent. But once Prophet Muhammad came along, ever since then, Christianity has been walking on the crutches that Islam gave it. That's where I'm headed. Christianity, in other words, would be totally and completely dead and gone if it wasn't for Prophet Muhammad.
Okay.
Tough to swallow, tough to understand, but Christianity had flatlined. And Prophet Muhammad came with them, what do you call those things? I don't know what you call them. Prophet Muhammad came with those things. What do you call them, brother? He doesn't know either. And he,
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Prophet Muhammad came and got it back going.
No, you saying defibrillator? I don't think it's
yes, that's what it is.
Okay.
Islam, as taught by Prophet Muhammad, is the defibrillator that brought Christianity back. And that's why Christianity is still looked at as anything right now. And if you really look at it, what really is, I could say, you don't have to take this because the messenger didn't say it, but Christianity, really what's keeping it up is masonry.
All
That's
right.
what's keeping Christianity up is masonry. It's the lodge and the shrine. That's what's keeping Christianity up right now. The highest and most wise of the devils are the Masons, the Shriners, and they study Islam in secret.
Oh, man.
What would Christianity be without Masonry? Nothing. It'd be nothing. Without Masonry, you don't have Christianity.
Check.
Exactly. It's Islam in secret. Christianity out front, but Islam on the down low.
Indeed. On that note, thank you for clarifying some things. We went through the whole student enrollment, and we have a question in here that I'm gonna bring up on the next pod. And I'm gonna save that for the next pod, and we're gonna go. Yeah, let's save that for the next pod. We'll go with that question. Ben, I saw that question. We're gonna answer that on the next one. Thank you guys for tuning in this evening. We really appreciate you. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe to the channel. We have a lot of things coming up, man. A lot of things coming down the pipeline. We're growing. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your support. Thank you, our brother Eric Muhammad, for supporting this channel as well. We really appreciate you. And we are out of here in peace.